In this video, we're going to discuss the bureaucracy behind you getting pregnant in Germany, how to, sort out all the paperwork, the process, all those things that would help make your pregnancy a smooth one here in Germany. And if this is your first time seeing this beautiful face, please don't make it your last. My name is Ada. Typically, I make content around life in Germany, my experiences here, things that I find very helpful, and share tips and tricks, I guess, information in general. And I also do a lot of vlogs. But it's been a while. I've been posting a lot of vlogs, and this time around, I've decided to do some sit-down videos, especially with reference to childbirth, bringing someone into this world, and so on and so forth. For OGs, they already know that I recently put to bed, and I'm just here to share my experience, things that I learned along the way, and I believe it will help you or someone that you know. So do well to like this video, share it with your friends, your loved ones, those that will find it very helpful, and subscribe to join the family if you haven't done so already. Okay, now that we've gotten this very long intro out of the way, I can't believe that I don't even know how to do my intros anymore. Because it's been such a hot minute since I last did the sit-down video. Don't worry, don't mind this mess. I'm currently trying to style my wig. This from Sensational. I've finally been influenced by TikTok and I got one. Just in case you're interested, this is the wig that I'm working with. It's in the color Secret Highlights Light Ash Brown. And as I said, it's from Letitia Sensational. I know that some of you did not come here to talk about my wig, so please feel free to skip this part up until we start talking about the main topic for today. But this is what the wig actually looks like. I love the color. So let's discuss while I style this. Whether I'm man or woman, want it or you got it. This is not my first time wearing this wig. I already unboxed it and I cut the lace to the best of my abilities. I've been wanting to wear this, for whatever reason. So now that I have the opportunity, because I'm recording, I just decided. So, down to the crux of the matter. This topic is going to divide into two sessions, two parts. First is before birth and then after birth. So before birth, first things first, you've discovered you're pregnant, you've done the pregnancy test, you've done the pregnancy strip, urine test and all of that. And it's positive. Congratulations. It's such a beautiful thing. Congratulations. I'm very happy for you. And now you're wondering, what is the next thing to do? The first thing to do is to look for a Frauenarzt, that's a gynecologist that is closest to you. If it's your gynecologist, amazing. Book an appointment with this gynecologist as soon as possible. If you can call them to give you their earliest possible appointment so that you can do a proper test at the gynecologist, for them to confirm some details, regarding the pregnancy. First off, to confirm that you're really pregnant, because, sometimes the urine test might not be very accurate. But if you go to the Frauenarzt or the gynecologist, they will do an ultrasound on you to confirm that indeed they can find something in your stomach and you're really pregnant. The Frauenarzt will also confirm how many weeks pregnant you are. For me, for example, my first visit to the gynecologist, I was not issued a Mutterpass. Now, a Mutterpass is a booklet that you would hold with you throughout your pregnancy period. In fact, up until your child is here, because I still have my Mutterpass and I still use it to go for my child's pediatrician appointments. So Mutterpass is like a booklet that we issue to you that contains all the details of your pregnancy, and you have to hold it with you wherever you're going to, in case there's maybe an emergency and you need to be sent to a doctor that is not typically your doctor. The details, everything they need to know, your blood type, the kind of tests you've done so far, the details of the birth of your baby, your pregnancy, everything about you would be in the Mutterpass. So this document was not issued to me during my first visit. I think it was given to me during my I said third visit to the gynecologist. That was when I got my motor pass for the first time. So it depends on what doctor you go to. Really depends, I guess. But for me, as I said, it wasn't given to me on my first visit. So once you go to the gynecologist, of course, you would now start having recurring appointments. Typically, every 4 weeks, you'll have to visit the gynecologist again to do like a regular check and all of that. And then they would issue you the motor pass. As I said, this motor pass, take it with you all times, have it with you at all times, because you never can tell. The next thing you need to do, of course, is to inform your health insurance. That's your Krankenkasse. The reason for you to inform your health insurance providers is for them to be aware and for them to also know they're going to cover your prenatal costs, if there are drugs you need to take at that time, if there are checkups you need to do, and so on and so forth. So it's just good for you to inform the Krankenkasse. Now, after you've informed your health insurance provider, informing them is not difficult. It depends on how best you talk to them. For me personally, my Krankenkasse is TK, that's Technische Krankenkasse, and I use the TK app to reach out to them. So if you use TK, you can also use the app. Otherwise, I believe you can call them or maybe visit them in their offices. Visiting their offices, I say, would be the extreme in an extreme case. Best case, just write them an email and they'll respond to you with whatever additional information that they need. Informing your Krankenkasse, like your health insurance company or health insurance provider, it's not compulsory that it happens immediately after you've gone to your gynecologist. You can inform your health insurance providers after you've spoken to your employer, and that brings me to the third point: talking to your employer if you're currently employed. Now, most people like to talk to their employers, like inform them of their pregnancy 3 months after their conception, 3 months after they've conceived their baby. That way, they are very sure, because the first 3 months, is usually very tricky. A lot of people have miscarriages at that time. But after the 3rd month, you're more stable. The first trimester thingies are beginning to wear off a bit. You're getting yourself, you're healthier and all of that. So some people now inform their employers of their pregnancy. Now, it really depends on the kind of relationship you have with your employer. For some people, they talk to their managers first before reaching out to the HR, while for some people, they go straight to the HR. Whatever you prefer, feel free to do whatever it is, that you feel comfortable with. But the most important thing is that you inform your employers as soon as possible of your pregnancy. What this does is that you have to start planning your replacement, temporary replacement, or what will happen to your job, or your duties, your task once you're off on maternity leave. And it also protects you against being fired and all of that, because you're under maternity protection. Your employer might ask you for a doctor's certificate, like a certificate to confirm your pregnancy. I think for me, I got it was a Bestätigung or a Bescheinigung. I don't quite remember what it's called, but I got one from my gynecologist. You just talk to your gynecologist and tell them to give you a letter to be given to your employer for your pregnancy, like stating that you're pregnant. In most cases, this letter will contain your due date, the potential due date, and with that, your employer would now calculate when your maternity leave would begin and end. Now, in Germany, as far as I know, maternity protection starts 6 weeks before birth and 8 weeks after birth. And then at this time, you would continue to receive your payment in full. Part of the payment will come, when I say payment, I mean your salary. Part of this payment will come from your employers, and the other part will come from your health insurance. And that's why it's important for you to inform your health insurance company and inform your health insurance provider, and also inform your employers as well. So the next thing that you should also do would be to start looking for a midwife. Now, in my own experience, looking for a midwife is a hassle. It took me a while before I found my midwife, and most midwives, I don't want to say most midwives, but it depends on the kind of midwife you're looking out for. Some midwives give prenatal care, some give postnatal care. So, but in my own case, I had a postnatal nurse. So I only had a few contacts with her while I was pregnant, just, to check and to make sure that everything was going fine. But most of the visits I've had from her has been after I put to bed, right? So I think it really, really depends on what you want, I would say. I've also had, I've seen cases of midwives coming after, birth to help you take care of your child and all of that. So I think in most cases you would look for a postnatal midwife. So start looking for one right now. Go online. There are several, depending on your district, your postcode, you will most likely have to look for a midwife that stays within the vicinity, because most midwives will accept you if they are within the vicinity, so they can easily come to visit you as often as possible. The next thing I would recommend is that you begin to think about the Elterngeld, the Kindergeld. That's Elterngeld, that's the parental allowance, and the Kindergeld, that's the child allowance. Now, you should be aware that you cannot submit these forms and these documents until your child is born. However, it's important for you to begin to gather, start getting used to, the process, start gathering the documents that are needed. If you need to reach out to your company for whatever documents, but also bear in mind that whatever documents you're submitting should kind of be fresh. The point is, begin to get informed on the requirements of submitting the form for the parental allowance and that of the child allowance. Next thing, of course, is to register in a hospital. My advice would be to look for, of course, the hospital that is closest to you, depending on the city you live in, depending on the area you live in. Look for a hospital that is specifically or catered to pregnant women, to kids, those kind of things. Because I realize that not all hospitals in Germany or not all hospitals, in Berlin cater, to pregnant women. So you need to look for the ones that cater to pregnant women and cater to children and register there. Find out from them what their registration process is. You most likely have to find this information online, and then you'll have to come, or go to the hospital to physically register. That was what happened in my case. I reached out to the hospital online. I got their email, sent them an email, then they gave me an appointment, and then I went, did the registration. It's also important that you go with your partner, either your husband or your spouse, your partner, the person that you're, I don't know how to say, or your partner. That's if you're in a partnership. If you're a single parent, you have to go on your own in this case. But the most important thing is that you have to show up. That was what happened to me anyways. I showed up, registered, answered a few questions. They gave me a couple of forms I needed to fill, a couple of leaflets, materials I needed to read and understand, especially when it had to do with epidural, birth processes, the things to expect, what I needed to sign, and so on and so forth. Right? So it's important that you register at the hospital. And I think in my own case, I registered 15 weeks to birth. So 15 weeks to the birth of my child. So the point is for you to reach out to them as early as possible so that they are sure that they can pick you, because, of course, processes. That you reached out to them doesn't necessarily mean that they would accept you according to what I understood at the time. So just reach out as soon as possible. Now, while we are going for our different doctor's visits, there are certain doctor visits that are very important for your child. One of them is the fine diagnostics test. It's important that you do the fine diagnosis test. I mean, I think it's even compulsory, but they would ask you if you want to do certain additional tests on top. For example, for Down syndromes, for certain genetic disabilities, for certain genetic ailments, they would ask you if you wanted to do some of those tests so that they can confirm if the child had if the child will have any of these, or maybe they already have any of these ailments, and then you can decide if you want to keep the baby or not. In my case, I wanted to do all the tests there was to do, just so that I was sure, not like I was going to make any decision, but good thing that I didn't have to make any difficult decision. So please go for the defined diagnostics test. I think they do it around, is it 30 weeks of pregnancy? I'm not completely sure, but your child has to be developed to an extent. I remember when I went for mine, I went a bit too early. They told me to go back, and they told me to come back when the child was a little bit, more developed, because that way they could check all the organs and be sure that everything was fine. So make sure you go for those fine diagnostics. My recommendation again would be that any other additional tests they said that you should, they recommend, or the doctors recommend for you to do, I recommend you do them, because you might think you don't have, you might think you want to walk by faith, you don't have anything. But for me personally, for my kind of personality, I rather be sure. Yeah. So, but do whatever it is that you prefer. Then next thing would be that you prepare for your maternity leave. As I said, maternity leave in Germany starts 6 weeks before birth and 8 weeks after birth. So you can already plan, buy things for the baby, plan how you're going to spend your maternity leave time. I mean, you can plan as much as you want, but the baby kind of dictates how it's going to go. Because right now I'm still in maternity leave, but mine will end very soon. And I can tell you that I've spent my time just breastfeeding and making sure the child is alive. And I'm healthy and I'm healing as well. So no matter how much you plan, just learn to give yourself grace, take it easy, make sure that you have enough help, people around you that are willing to help you, people that can come to your aid, because you would need help. You would really, really need help. Now let's talk about what happens after birth. After birth, you're with your child, you're getting to know each other, everything is going all fine and good, you're happy. Remember, there's a lot of paperwork that needs to be done. First things first, the birth certificate. Imagine my shock when I was not given the birth certificate at the hospital. I really thought I was going to be given the birth certificate immediately after the birth, but no. The funny thing was that I also gave birth on a weekend. So those typically, according to what I heard, typically the hospital gives birth certificates to parents. But if you give birth during the weekend, you'll have to apply for this yourself, and the place, they will direct you anyway. They directed me, but it took a while. Now, when it comes to the birth certificate itself, I had to apply at a Statusamt in my district. Now, applying there took a while. Of course, you send all the information, send all the documents to them. They responded to me and said I had to get the original documents to be submitted in a letterbox in the office. So now I went there. I didn't have my original birth certificate. I was thinking that they were going to accept a photocopy. They rejected it. They said that without an original birth certificate, certain information will be omitted from my child's birth certificate. So I had to somehow find my birth certificate. Thankfully, somebody was coming from Nigeria, and then she helped me bring it. So my point is, make sure you have your original birth certificate. It makes things a lot easier for you. And if you're in doubt, because I actually thought they were joking when they said we should get the original copies. I thought they meant photocopies. I don't know how I thought that, but they rejected it and said you should get original documents. They will give them back to you when you come to pick up your birth certificate. So yeah, you have to apply for your birth certificate. It takes, for me, it took around, let's say 4 weeks for everything, plus the back and forth, finding out, is it, do I have to submit the original birth certificates, looking for my birth certificate, blah, blah, blah. It just took longer than necessary for it to happen, for documents to come. But once you get your birth certificate, actually they'll give you 3 birth certificates, but you can request for additional birth certificates. One is for Elterngeld, that's the parental allowance. One is for the child allowance, also known as Kindergeld, and another one is for the health insurance company. Then you can now get, why do I keep saying health insurance company? Health insurance providers. Then you can get an additional birth certificates for yourself. I got one normal German birth certificate and one international birth certificate for my child. Then the next thing, of course, would be that you begin to apply for the benefits that I mentioned earlier, which is the Elterngeld, the parental allowance, and the child allowance. You begin to apply for them. These applications take time. I'm still in the process of applying for mine. I still haven't even submitted my document because my experience now is that for the parental benefits, even though I submitted online, they said I should print the document and submit again via post. So that's what I'm going to do today, hence the dressing up. And for the child benefit, the Elterngeld, I could not submit online because I'm not a German citizen, and so I have to print out the documents and submit via post. If you're a citizen, you might be able to submit online. At least if you're in Berlin, you might be able to submit online. So depending on what the situation is, but make sure you submit as soon as possible, because the earlier you submit, the earlier the money begins to come. Then, of course, you need to reach out to your health insurance company or health insurance providers. I keep saying company, but you need to reach out to your health insurance providers to inform them of the birth of your child. If you want your child to be on your health insurance card, as if you're on a statutory health insurance, you can inform them about this, and then they can send you a new health insurance card for your child, the confirmation that your child is part of your insurance. But if you're on a private health insurance, the process is different because you have to now pay additional money to have your child insured. Well, yeah, this is pretty much the bureaucracy, the documentation, all the fun stuff you need to be aware of when it comes to pregnancy and afterbirth care and afterbirth registration here in Germany. Another thing too is, of course, you need to start applying for your child's international passport or ID card, residence permit, as the case may be. If your child is German, which is in my own case, I went to the Bürgeramt and applied for a German passport for him. But if your child is not German, then you need to reach out to your embassy, try to get the information. I will still do that because my child has dual citizenship. Reach out to your embassy and get the information that they need for getting a new passport for your child, and also reach out to the Bürgeramt to get a residence permit for your child. Yeah, so I hope you find this video helpful. I know that I've said a lot, but I hope you find this video super helpful. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, if you like my hair, if there is anything you would want me to cover based on my experiences so far regarding the birth of my child, and so on and so forth. And I guess I'll see you in my next video. Ciao!